Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. My name is Brad. Another Tuesday talk for you. Dennis, I apologize. I know I told you that last week I was going to get a video out. Thanks so much for your understanding and for everybody else in the community that's reached out to me this week. But I am so pumped finally be back up here giving you another Tuesday talk with Denis from TruFinancials. If you've never heard of Denis before, he has an outstanding channel about the future growth of your money and how to become financially successful. I'll leave all of his information in the description below. Please check out his channel, consider subscribing, tell him Brad sent you, and I hope you enjoy this video with Denis from TruFinancials. Denis, how are you today? I'm excited. I have to be honest, this is the first conversation I've really had where I haven't had a man crush for that long. I was talking with Kelly from Freedom of a Budget a couple weeks ago, and she was like, this is the people you need to get on. You need to get this person, this person. I was like, I can really use a male perspective. And she was like, oh, reach out to Denis. He's the best. And I'm like, who's this? And since then, I have just been binge watching full man crush. I mean, between Arizona love and having the most wonderful mustache I have ever seen that I'm so jealous I can't grow. It's so great to finally talk to you. Thanks so much for sitting down with me today.
I really do appreciate you having me on, and also thank you to Kelly for essentially introducing us here. Really quick thing about the mustache. When I was growing up, I actually hated it, so I would shave it but leave everything else going, and that was some of the worst stuff I've ever decided to do, and those photos are hidden really well.
So your channel been around May 21st. You've said it openly and proud. May 21st, 2017. What started the channel and the hardest part? How did you come up with the name for the channel?
The hardest part was actually just getting started. And I know a lot of people kind of talk about that. And for me personally, the thing that made it really interesting was I actually wanted to kind of do something like this for many years, but I never really was able to figure out how to be able to do it. And the hard part is for me is like talking about personal finance. I was like, well, how can I make this a viable business when I'm trying to teach people to save money? How am I going to earn it? And so that actually caused me to kind of put it on the back burner for a couple of years. I think it was like when I was 24 is when I really started coming up with the ideas. And then it took me until about 27 to finally say, okay, you know what? I can do this. And if I can earn money from it, I can actually reach a larger audience and help more people. And that really got kind of the gears going. And so that's when I ended up starting in May of 2017.
Awesome. And this year you've seen incredible growth. I think you did your 1,000 subscriber video in January and you are up, I think the last I checked, like 4,360. Did you expect that growth? Like, what was there one moment, or have you been steady organic growth over especially this past year?
Yeah, I mean, so as far as like growth for the channel, it's really awesome to see a lot of people kind of coming together because it's all about the community. So as much as that number is kind of there, it's more of a vanity number. I really kind of more engage with the comment sections and the people that I'm having conversations with back and forth. And that's really for me, like the big surprise was how well my community is like getting along with myself and other people. And I really like that because to me, it is great to have, 4,000, 300 subscribers, but it's really those people that engage every day. And like when I go on a live stream and I see these people like constantly on my comment sections and like they want to actually have conversations back and forth, it's really cool. And to me, that's kind of where I see the surprise was there. As far as like the growth, I think with all the work that I put behind it, I was kind of expecting it in a way, but it's really the engagement that I was a little bit more surprised with.
And in your live stream the other day, you talked about some change that you were going to make, and you've been steady 2 videos every single week since you've come out, and you talked about, growing that to 3 videos per week and adding some content. What is that content? Tell everybody kind of like what your plan is and when you plan to start scheduling your 3 videos.
Yeah. So that's a huge leap. So if anyone's ever wanting to get started on YouTube, being consistent is really hard. And I made it a point for myself, not for anybody else, but for me to say, hey, I really am going to stick to the schedule for a minimum of a certain amount of time. And it turned out to do very well. Even when I was sick or even when I had other things planned in the future, I got everything ready and I was always able to make those 2 videos a week. So the next challenge for myself was, okay, I have so many pieces of content that I want to produce, but I don't seem to ever have enough time. And I know it sounds kind of strange. And some people might have different issues where they don't come up with enough content. But for me, there's so much that I want to share that I feel like going to 3 videos a week can be very beneficial to the audience and to the growth for the community. So I actually started this week when we're recording this video. in what is it, like the first or second week of November, going to 3 videos a week. And for me, that is going to be very impactful because now I can actually share more stories. And I'm actually looking into doing more storytelling for my videos more than just actually the information, because the information you can get anywhere. So it's about more of like the storyline and how it impacts my life, how it can impact somebody else's life. And we're starting off with a series of how my wife and I were able to save $27,000 to go traveling for a full year. And that's a 3-part series coming out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So yeah, I just saw you just released the first part of that, which I watched, and which led me to another question. Has your wife been on board with YouTube and being in video since day one, or is that something you had to talk to her about and get her?
Yeah, I know where you're going with that question.
Because my wife is like, no shot.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about that whole segment is that, yeah, she was definitely on board. She actually loved the idea. We actually did some YouTube stuff prior to this, and it was actually one of my fails when it came to like side hustles, was actually trying to start a YouTube channel while traveling and learn some things from that. And so she was definitely on board and okay with it. There was a couple of times where it did make it really tough because, like I mentioned, I wanted to be very consistent. So, there were times where I was up till like 3. I mean, there's still times where I'm up till like 3 in the morning trying to get things done to be able to produce these videos. And so sometimes I made it a little tough. So it was more of learning the balance of, work, this job, and then actually being able to have, like a family outside of that as well. So with all those things combined, there was a little bit of a rough patch when it came to trying to figure out how to balance it all. But I think now it's at a really good place where we both understand what our goals are and what I'm looking for, what she's looking for, and being able to mesh all those things together.
Yeah, and it was great to see her in a video. I love when couples get on YouTube videos together, because we are, as a couple in a marriage, we're a complete package. My wife is just a little uncomfortable we're both school teachers and she teaches a younger grade level. So she's like, me, I don't care. My seniors see me on YouTube. They just make fun of me and I move on. But she's been a little bit nervous about that. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out the right thing to say to get her to sit down. Because especially like when we do budget videos, or people ask all the time, like, how did you get your spouse on board? And she was really the person that got me on board with getting my financials together. And I want to incorporate her more. It's so hard. So I'm super jealous that you're able to get your wife to sit down with you from time to time.
Yeah, she actually wants to be on it more. But what causes us the friction is just the time management. So she typically is working 6 days a week, and then I'm working my 5 days a week plus this job. So it's like trying to figure out a balance of like when we can record. So our 3-part series, if you like watch all 3 of the videos and like simultaneously, you'll see like the light going dimmer and dimmer because we were only able to record at a certain time and it got dark, and we're like, well, we just keep going because it's more about the value of the content than the quality of the content. So it's just interesting how that works. And so it's more of the time framing that makes it a little harder for her to be on the show more.
And I know a lot of creators are scheduling out. They're doing days where they'll bulk record. Is that, how far out are you scheduled with your videos, and how many spontaneous videos do you have? Because that's something that I'm really trying to figure out. And when I watched your videos and saw that you did 2 every single week, I'm like, wow, am I going to get burnt out? Because if it goes like a day or 2, I feel like not FOMO, but I feel like I'm not doing it right, where I almost admire that, and I'm thinking about backing down my content so that I can stay consistent and don't get burnt out. And definitely scheduling has helped that, also balancing with my wife. How far out are you scheduling, and do you primarily record on one day and edit on another, something like that?
Yeah, so I do definitely try to do bulk recording, because that definitely really helps when it comes to being able to produce the right amount of content. Sometimes I do come up with things where it's like instantaneous, like I got to put this video out, so I'll shift everything along. I'm usually about 2 weeks ahead most of the time. Going to 3 videos a week right now. I'm kind of like at the first week of December. So I'm a little ahead because obviously I wanted to plan properly for it. But I definitely stuck to 2 a week for the longest time until I felt very comfortable with the idea of going to 3. And if it doesn't pan out, I can always go back down. But I didn't want to start with 3 videos a week and then kind of really like drain myself, like you were saying. For me personally, I love this content so much. I love the community, like getting people's feedback and getting to see those messages and emails of someone telling me that, hey, I'm bettering my financial future because of a video that you made, pushes me to make another one, because what if that one video helps that one extra person?
I agree. One of my favorite things, I have whole duty first period. And one of the favorite parts of my morning is drinking coffee and just interacting with those people with the comments and reiterating what you said before. The growth of the channel, the subscriber count really means nothing, especially for someone like me who's super, super small. But, you know, it is. I really, really enjoy that morning and being able to interact and the people that ask questions. And, you know, also too, the thing that really drove me to wanting to watch more of your videos and really sitting down and binge watching is you don't have the traditional Dave Ramsey get out of debt type channel. Like, you focused more on the, I guess what we'd say, like the later baby steps, and your focus is on primarily after we get out of debt. But you currently, you have some student loan debt, right? Where do you fall in with, you know, the Dave Ramsey community, the FIRE community? Are you just somebody that appreciates the importance of being out of debt, and that's something you work towards, or is the getting out of debt kind of like your back burner and you're really focused on your retirement?
No. So those are definitely great questions. And funny enough, I actually do have a video coming out. I think it's in that first week of December where I talk about my views versus like Dave Ramsey's views. And like, full disclosure, I actually love Dave Ramsey. He actually is the one that really got me into personal finance, and I admire him to being able to bring personal finance to the masses. So I know sometimes people have like a hard time with him. But I definitely see him as the person who actually brought this to the limelight. So I'm definitely a fan of him. I really like his methods and the way it works. But yeah, I do things just a slightly bit different, because like for me, when my wife and I went traveling for the year, we could have paid off those student loans first versus traveling, but we had different objectives and different goals that we wanted to hit, even though we knew that we could still pay off those debts. Now, those student loans are my wife's student loans, so we are going through and actually getting those paid off. I only had a remodeling loan from my parents that I took care of, and we actually are almost done taking care of that. But it was more of like just cutting it down to a certain amount because it wasn't something that they needed or they were like after right away. So we were just slowly paying them back. So that way we were able to go through this travel, which, you know, for some Dave Ramsey fans, I know it's like a little bit of a hard head of like, no, this is what you have to do. But, you know, we made that decision because we wanted to be able to start a family sooner rather than later. And to us, it was really important for us to be able to go take that trip. So I definitely see, you know, sometimes people see it in different lights. But for me, I still love the way he teaches. And I definitely think it works for a lot of people. Maybe not for everybody. And then for me personally, as far as like the way I teach people and the way I present things, is the option of being able to do whichever way works best for you. Because maybe Dave Ramsey's way is almost perfect, but the emergency fund piece is the only thing that doesn't like click well with you. And to me, that's okay. And so it's like, if you want to save, you know, $1,500 instead of $1,000, you know, I'm not going to be like, okay, that's not the way to do it. I think it's for each person individually.
And you said it best. It's what works best for you. And I think that even though you don't scream Dave Ramsey from the mountaintops, you still, you know, we're trying to lead by example as creators. And I think you do that by showing that debt is a priority in your life, but you have that managed. You're still, your budget videos are incredible. You know, you still portray an image of, hey, listen, I'm going to set up sinking funds for this. I'm going to set up reserve funds for this. And you say it at the end of this, even this past one, like, if I have money left over, that's going to go towards my remodeling debt right now. So I think that's an awesome perspective. And I feel like sometimes, you know, people can get jumped down their throat and say, but what about the steps? What about the steps? So I appreciate having that alternate perspective. So I think that when I was watching all your videos, it's great. And then to see those budgeting videos in, because at first glance, I might have said, oh, well, I don't even know if this guy's in a Dave Ramsey. But then without even saying it, you still show that as long as we have a focus on our debts, as long as we are spending our money the way we want to spend it, that's awesome. You know, so that I appreciate that. And I want you to be able to tell people that as long as you're doing what's best for you and you have money management, because that's the image that you gave to me. So I'm glad to hear you say it. It's incredible how, you know, with that travel, I'm kind of like the same way. I can actually ask this because I am you know, I'm kind of an old-fashioned guy. I never ask the girls how old they are. How old are you?
As of this recording, I am 28 years old and like 300.
But you have a birthday coming up.
Days.
Tomorrow's your birthday. All right. Well, happy early birthday. And I feel the same. Me and my wife, we did a lot of traveling before we had my daughter. And the only difference between you and I is we were 27, 28. I'm 36 now. but we didn't have, a grasp on our debts, and we didn't have a grasp on our spending. That's kind of how we're in the boat that we are right now. So I'm so glad when I say young people, but you've had your crap together since day one, and I'm looking so forward to like that journey. With the investment part of it, are you doing a lot of investing yourself, or what's your like background with the investing and financial part? Are you kind of self-taught? Do you have any quote unquote formal education, and I don't care either way, because I think sometimes self-taught's the best way,
definitely. But real quick, to go back for our last little talk that we were having, when it comes to doing what works best for you, like my only objection to what somebody might say is, as long as you're going forward and you're trying to be more positive with your money management, that's the only time I'm like, okay, whatever works best for you. Because sometimes I'll talk to people and, their look on money or their choices that they make aren't putting them in the right direction, and so then that doesn't always work. So just to kind of put it in that perspective of like, it works best for you as long as the intent is to move forward and to be better with your money and to help build you wealth. Because if you're not going towards that direction, then you're only going the other way. So but as far as the investing portion, that stuff is interesting, because for me it's all definitely self-taught. And I know sometimes people are like, they've asked me before, like, well, how can you have, say in this manner, yeah, who are you, and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I'm a guy who kind of like Dave Ramsey talks about, right? Like, I'm not going to wear a suit all the time. Like, that's not really me unless I'm going to a wedding or doing something very nice. But like for me, I'm just a regular person trying to show other people that you can do this on your own. And I talked about it on a live stream where when I started doing investing, it was actually really early on back in 2011. And I didn't really know a lot, but I was only investing $100 or, $200 here and there. And I was making those mistakes with small amounts. So that way, when I got older and I had more money, those mistakes were going to be very minimal. And then I wasn't wasting money with, hundreds of thousands of dollars versus $100 or $200. And I definitely learned a lot as I was younger. And as of right now, because we are finishing up our debts, I mostly just have my retirement investing that I'm doing, but that's still all on me. I don't have anybody managing it for me. So I learned to do that all on my own, and it's doing very well. And then I have a little bit of investing as well, but that was from something else. And then right now I'm actually doing some testing on investing apps, so that way I can pass that information on to other people. But the cool thing was that money is coming from the business portion of the TruFinancials channel versus me just investing on my own.
That's awesome. And I'm kind of like excited to get through. I mean, obviously I'm excited to get out of debt, but I'm really excited because the investing part for me, like being a numbers guy, and being stats and data and graphs and charts, like I can't wait to get to that part. I can't wait to, and also too, I'm a lifelong learner, so I can't wait. I'm going to be completely self-taught, and it's, especially when we just left, I'm glad we finally left the Bitcoin era, but everyone's a professional, right? Everyone knows what they're talking about. And I've seen you say that before, like how you started with a little bit of money and you kind of learned, and not to say you were gambling that money away, but there's definitely going to be some sort of learning curve, and you got to make those mistakes. And that's sometimes the best way, like I said before, is that self-taught method. So, and you'll be debt free before me, so hopefully you're gonna learn it all for me, and then I'm gonna ride your coattails, and we'll both cruise all the way to the top.
The funny thing that you mentioned that is that's actually what my whole focus is on the channel, because I don't know if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is.
I'm familiar with the name.
So he has a thing where he's kind of showing his journey for what he's doing. And he's actually talked about it before on his channel, where he's like really excited for his kids to be able to see it, even though he missed like the first half of his career so far on video. And for me personally, it's kind of the same thing where I'm really excited to have kids where they can go back and watch this journey from who we were to where we are. But more importantly than even that is the journey that I'm taking people along with me, because I don't want somebody just to follow me and be like, oh, well, that's really cool that he did it. It's like, no, I'm doing this so that way you can come with me. Like I feel that the people that subscribe and comment and follow and do these things, I don't want them just to be here. I want them to be able to be successful in the same light that I want to be successful, which is being able to control my personal finances to be able to do anything that I want. And so for me, if you're riding the coattail and you're successful and I'm successful, that's fantastic. I know a lot of people, when the whole like notion of like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, that's a mindset of there's one pie and it doesn't get any bigger and that's it. So for me, I see the pie consistently growing, and then I see that, just because I'm succeeding doesn't mean you can't, and vice versa. So it's like this journey is for everybody, and not just for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes back. You're creating credibility with every single word that you speak. So keep doing what you're doing. Like I'm kind of like mad that I caught on so late, but I'm glad that Kelly finally, and also too, I love the other male perspective, and because sometimes we just get caught up in what we're doing, and just to know that there's people like you out there, that's really what it's all about. And that's why we became creators, I think, so that when somebody's looking for somebody else, we try and give somebody a broad range, because we're all trying to get to the same place, but we're all much different people. And I mean, that's really all the questions I have for you. I like to give people the opportunity to ask me a question at the end, put me on the hot seat if you'd like.
I got questions. Oh boy, I'm just kidding. I didn't have questions prepared, but based off of like our conversation, because that's usually what I do when it comes to interviews. I usually kind of go over based off how we have conversations, how we talk. For you, your end goal, can be a little bit different than my end goal, but like what's the goal for you and your channel and what you're trying to achieve?
So for me, every day when I make content, it's because I've learned something that I want to teach somebody else. 9 times out of 10 when I make a video, it's because I'm having a conversation with my wife and I say to her, listen, this is what I read, or would you believe, or I did the math on this. And she's like, get over to the computer and make a video right now. I just released a video with my student loans because we refinanced, and I'm talking to her. I'm like, we saved this amount of money. We saved this interest. She's like, why aren't you saying this to a camera? That's really where, when I start creating. And also too, if my very first video, the first thing I say is, I want to be able to go back and look at this for me. And like I said, build credibility, not only for myself, but for my daughter and for my friends and for my family. And the beauty of time is the more and more successful we are with it, the more credible we become. And I'm not looking for validation, but I love and I yearn for the opportunity to help people, especially as a school teacher. It's kind of like in my nature. And, my end goal is just to keep going and to show that if you maintain balance and you maintain a cool, calm, and collected and a structured way to manage money, that over time you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. So that's a great thing. And you did hit on one other point that I love talking about is, and you just hit it a little bit, is the time. Because for me personally, time is the most valuable thing that we possess, but I don't think anybody really pays attention to it. So this currency that nobody actually sees being used in transactions is, for me, so critical. So I mentioned that like right now I'm up until like 3 a.m, using my personal time to be able to create these videos and content, with obviously the intent to one day be able to have this as my full-time career and job. And then what that does is going to give me the free time to, when we do have kids, to be able to be a stay-at-home parent and be able to give that time to our kids and be able to grow them. And that's kind of what I want for other people too, is the ability to control more of your time. So if right now you're stressing a lot about debt or how to invest and all these things, and you watch these videos, you watch like our content, and you're learning from these things, then you can save that time in your future to be able to use it for something else that can be more valuable to you than anything else in the world.
I could not say it any better myself. Dennis, thank you so much. I'm going to let you get back to the Valley of the Sun. When it's getting winter and I put my sweatshirt on, I miss my days at Arizona State University and wish I could come back and get that vitamin D on my face. But thank you so much. I'm so glad to be a part of your YouTube community. And, I do look forward to that future and really seeing where both of us can go. And I hope you have a great day, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. I really appreciate it, man. It was honestly a lot of fun being on here.
Check out some of these other Tuesday Talks from amazing YouTube creators out there. And until the next one, have yourselves a great day.